Welcome back. One man has been taken into police custody for alleged stalking and domestic violence. The arrest was captured by Hot 7 TV news cameras, and the alleged victim was present to give her side of the story.
Police came to the rescue of a woman who was allegedly being stalked by whom she claimed was an abusive ex-boyfriend on Friday. The woman said it has been about 2 months since she ended the relationship. However, her ex was not willing to accept her decision. Due to the sensitivity of the family court case, no names or faces could be revealed as the alleged victim gave her account of her ordeal.
This guy has been harassing me. He has been threatening me all the time. So I then went to the police for him because he's a tracker. Everywhere that I go, he has been following me. So I went to the police. They sent me to the family court to get a protection order, which the marshal did that. And then he still kept on coming to the house. They removed him into the house. He came back the very night. He came back again. I went to the police. They put him out. And since then, he's been doing me the same thing. But like everywhere I'm going, he's my stalker. Everywhere I'm going.
The alleged victim said the situation reached a new low the night before when her ex became physical.
Last night, I came home about after 7 because there are times I leave the house and I don't want to go back home because he insulted me in front of my children, he threatened me in front of my children, and then he said I went and take man last night, and this morning he started beating me up, and then I told him that I'm going to SSDF to do something. Then he followed me to town, and then the little chance that I had, I came to the police. He gave me one hard slap on my face. This is the first slap ever for me, which I have ever felt a slap like this. One punch in my belly and hold me in my neck, trying to choke me. He told me he's going to kill me. If he cannot have me, no man cannot have me.
She said the incident was the last straw. She continued on to say that not even the police wanted to help her.
Every time I go to the police keep telling me that they are not involved in themselves because today I come home for the police, tomorrow they send me with the guy. But I keep telling them it's not my fault. He's the one coming to me all the time. So because he refuses to let go of me. He doesn't want me to leave my house. Everywhere that I'm going, he will follow me. So I didn't have a choice. This morning, I saw my death this morning with this punch in my belly.
Domestic violence has been a major issue in St. Lucia, which has left the Department of Human Services inundated with cases. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I'm Rochelle Gonzalez.
The island's former cultural attaché, Shazi Shalom, is adding his voice to the chorus of concern regarding the National Sports Academy. The school, which was supposed to open on Monday the 9th of September, is not yet ready to house dorms for student athletes, and construction works present concerns to staff about health and safety. Shalom is not convinced that St. Lucia even needed this academy. He says there were programs established in the past whereby St. Lucian athletes would receive training at top-class institutions in Martinique. However, these plans seem to have dissolved without being fully explored. He questions the astuteness and economic value of this project.
Here you have the government closing a school that used to service 600 students to now service 45 students. Where is the economic value there? I remember in my position as the former cultural attaché to the Consul General's office in Martinique, I initiated a program where we signed a memorandum of understanding with the Olympic Committee of Martinique that would facilitate our young aspiring athletes to get training in Martinique, and they will be training with top-ranking athletes who represent France all over the world, in Europe, at European meets and meets internationally, even at the Olympic level.
Shalom says he appreciates the efforts of the current administration towards education, but claims they need to focus on more relevant and pressing issues in the country, such as addressing the health system. St. Lucians could soon be seeing the end of monopolized business as Commerce Minister Bradley Felix reveals plans to pass a competition law on island. The law will prevent businesses from dominating certain sectors and open doors for other similar businesses to set up shop, thus allowing consumers to benefit from fair prices and rates. Felix says this has been a long time coming. Rochelle Gonzalez reports.
Are you fed up of not having much of a choice over where you buy the bulk of your groceries, furniture, electronics, and even your telecommunications packages? Well, relief might be on the horizon, according to Commerce Minister Bradley Felix. The minister revealed that there has been a long-running, ongoing discussion to pass the competition law for nearly a decade, as under the Treaty of Chaguaramas, the region is obligated to put in such policies to protect the people. Unfortunately, he said, St. Lucia does not have such a policy in place at this time. However, this is about to change.
There is a draft policy that's actually been prepared by the OECS. In fact, coincidentally, there is a meeting in Grenada this month, and there are two people from the ministry who will be attending, our legal officer and the director of consumer affairs, because it is something that we have to fast track, because we have to ensure that people's rights are protected, that there is no one major player who can take advantage of people. And I mean, we can think of a few of them. We also have to be very mindful of various mergers, acquisitions, and how these things can affect the consumer. So it is something that needs to be worked on. I would admit it has not been something that has been aggressive in terms of the priority, but now that we are having this meeting coming up, there's a lot more priority being given to it, because we recognize the situation on the ground as to what how our citizens can be affected.
As promising as the minister's words sounded, the question was raised, why did it take so long? Felix said money is a major issue, slowing down the process.
There was supposed to have been a national authority set up within the OECS, and every country would have their own desk. However, it is a very expensive, very, very expensive process, or rather initiative. And as a result of that, CARICOM has decided that they would remain with the competition desk in Suriname. Suriname is where currently there is a desk, and we would fall under that desk until we're able to have our own. The intention is at least every country, well, for St. Lucia, we would have a desk at the Ministry of Commerce, Consumer Affairs Department. In fact, the new department that has the new location of the Consumer Affairs Department, they've actually made the arrangements and the seating arrangements for that unit.
And what would this mean for the local consumer?
Well, a number of things. I mean, one, price gouging was one of the main issues people speak about. People speak about when you have one player, the unfair practices, because that's a dominant player. So the competition policy would ensure that we have systems in place to protect the consumer from that. That's really a very basic, simple way of laying it out. You now have a place you can come in one to lodge your complaints, where we can seek some sort of redress. In fact, that would fall right hand in hand with, you're aware of the Consumer Protection Bill. That has also been outstanding. Well, it has already been laid in Parliament. It's just that a date has not been given. And we are working assiduously on trying to give a date for an enactment this year. I'm really hoping that it could be enacted this year. It's just that, the wheels of government sometimes move so slow.
Felix said with the advent of the Consumer Protection Bill given an enactment date, the competition law will kick in to support it. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I'm Rochelle Gonzalez.
In St. Lucia, mental health services have increased considerably following the opening of the National Mental Wellness Center. However, there remains a significant shortage of community-based services, according to the Director of RISE and pathologist, Dr. Stephen King. He says no mental health law and sparse human rights policy, coupled with high community stigma regarding those with mental health issues, is cause for concern and immediate intervention.
Beyond the mental health reform project within the Ministry of Health, there is no mental health authority in St. Lucia. Although the government drafted a mental health policy in 2007 and a Mental Health Act in 2008, neither is yet to come into fruition. In the World Health Organization's 2014 review of mental health legislation, it was highlighted that no mental health law, human rights policy, or review body exists in St. Lucia. Director of Advocacy Group RISE, Dr. Stephen King, expresses concerns over suicide and mental health care on island. Dr. King says it is time to revisit mental health legislation.
We do need modern mental health legislation. As you'd fully appreciate, an act drafted in 1895, last modified in amended in 1956, is no longer relevant and appropriate. We need to bring in the new act, which supports community mental health, would support the rights of people with mental health, protect their vulnerabilities. So that is what we really need to bring in place. That act is in government, between the Ministry of Health and the AG's chambers, so it would not be a difficult thing to implement. It just takes the political will to do it.
In the same breath, King speaks on human rights issues as it relates to individuals suffering with mental ailments. He notes the violation in human rights of people with mental illness is one which is commonplace in society.
The right to life, the right to care, is actually paramount, fundamental human rights. And mental patients, people who are mentally ill, actually often find that their rights are violated. You will appreciate that they're often not part of the consent, or they don't often consent to their care. Their care is often mandatory. It's often delivered to them or inflicted on them rather than partnered with them. That is not appropriate because that is not respecting their right. In addition to that, the investment in the mental health services have left minimal access to mental health services for many people with mental health issues. And that in itself is a denial of the rights of people who need these services. So access to professional mental health services is a right, as well as the recognition of the individual who's mentally ill as a human being with human rights, equal to all of us.
Mental illnesses range from anxiety disorders, personality disorders, psychotic disorders, eating disorders, and mood disorders. Dr. King says community mental health care should be the first step in providing mental health care to individuals. He says this strategy has the capacity to break the stigma often attached to people suffering from a mental illness. He adds, community-based mental health care can act as the catalyst in creating social change and driving the implementation of mental health law. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solaj Alfred.
As he spoke at the United Nations Trade Forum currently underway in Geneva, Switzerland, Prime Minister Alan Chasney, also the present chairman of CARICOM, brought to the forefront the humanitarian tragedy and the complete destruction of physical infrastructure he witnessed in the Bahamas. The forum in Geneva focuses on islands and coastal communities. Prime Minister Chasney called on all to recognize the responsibility that we collectively have to force action on climate change and singled out that the international community must go beyond engagement at the function. He says the Bretton Woods institutions must provide sufficient policy space and support to grow capacity to respond to these challenges. The UN Trade Forum on Small Island Developing States and Climate Change is being held from the 9th to the 13th of September and is being held ahead of the 2019 Climate Summit on the 23rd of September, hosted by the UN Secretary General, in order to boost ambition and accelerate actions to implement the Paris Agreement on climate change. This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. There's more news after the break.